Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fierce Awakened Woman 2023 Creativity Jam. We are putting a little bit of fierce into our fun, and we are putting a whole lot of fun into our fierce so that we can show up and say yes to life's invitations with a little bit more courage, a little bit more confidence, and a whole lot more creative chutzpah. I'm Jen Balco, founder of Always on My Way, and your MC and guide through our 5-day virtual event happening October 12th to October 16th, right here in Zoom, online, globally. And I want to welcome all of you in to our circle from whatever part of the world you're sitting in today. We're all here to listen with our hearts, to spark our creative joy, to walk through the next steps of our spiral path together with a little bit of wonder and some awe and some serendipity. So come along and make yourself comfortable and soak up the wisdom of our next featured speaker. I'm so honored to be in conversation with Dr. Adrienne McKeon, and you will walk away today with a few nuggets of golden wisdom that is going to magnetize your energy, mastery, skills, and capacities. You're going to have a deeper sense of awareness, appreciation, and an ability to curate your energy and use it in a way that helps you be even more authentic, even more fierce, fun, and fantastic. So before we bring Adrienne into our circle and welcome her here, let me just tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Adrienne McKeon is a best-selling author, speaker, and coach on creative flow. She helps struggling creators transform into effortless community leaders simply by realigning them to the natural flow of their authentic energy. You'll really light yourself on fire with her presentation. Magnetize your movement with energy mastery. Before we bring her in, I just want to say a personal thank you to Adrienne. This year, I and 11 other women co-authored a book called Fierce Awakenings, published by Red Thread. And Adrienne was a key part of helping us all discover our own creative flow, coming to our stories with different perspective, and really getting us into the flow of creating a book, publishing a book, and helping us achieve that. So just a very personal thank you to Adrienne before we get started. So come on in, Adrienne. Welcome to the Fierce Awakened Woman 2023 Creativity Jam. Hi, Adrienne. How are you? Welcome
Hi,
to
I'm
the
wonderful.
Fierce Awakened Woman.
Thank you so much.
Creativity Jam. Woohoo!
Yes, I feel fierce. I feel awakened. I feel alive. Let's do this.
Don't you wish sometimes you weren't so awake?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This week especially has just been one of those like, do I really need to be this spiritually connected? Could I maybe just go back to sleep just like a little bit?
Right. Just, yeah.
Nope. Too
So
late. Genie's out of the bottle.
We are just putting that out there, and we're adding a little bit of fun to our fierceness. That's what we're doing at this Creativity Jam this year. And
Yes.
I'm really happy you're here. Thank you.
I am so happy to be here. And yes, fun and the fierceness. I am all about that. Playfulness is so key to my spiritual process.
And your creativity process, because we'll get into some
I
of
do
that.
not distinguish between the two. I think that we are creators and we're here to create, and we're here to create a reality that feels really wonderful to us.
That's right.
And we're here to learn so much in the process of doing that.
And you're going to tell us about some of the things you've learned along the way. And one of the things we're kind of, as everybody's settling in and getting comfortable and just tuning into what we're about to talk about. But you've had some fierce awakenings over the course of your lifetime that have given you a lot of courage.
Boy, howdy, have I.
Yeah.
Actually, this book right here, Feisty.
Feisty.
This is a collaborative book that I was a part of, and I have a chapter in here where I talk about what I call feisty flickers. And your feisty flickers are those moments where you suddenly realize, wait a second, I do have a choice. I thought I didn't have a choice. I thought this was my only option. It turns out there's another choice that's very scary, but is an option for me. And I'm going to just grab it while I'm still, like, before I change my mind. And I've got a few examples in here, but the biggest one is the one I'm going to talk about today. And I do want to let you know, trigger warning here, this is about domestic abuse. It has a happy ending, everyone. I lived, I'm okay, I'm great. In fact, I'm much better than I would have been. But if that is something that you're sensitive to, you might want to skip this part.
Right. Feel empowered to do that.
Absolutely. Feel empowered to do that.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about.
Should I jump in?
Yeah, jump in. And I know the story you're about to tell, and it was exactly that. It was in Feisty that I had read about this. So
yeah. So my first husband had a little game that he liked to play called, give me 3 good reasons. He would wake me up in the middle of the night with a pillow in his hands. And he would say, give me 3 good reasons not to kill you right now. And I would have to, on the spot, at my most vulnerable and confused, come up with 3 reasons why my life should continue, why I should continue to exist. And as time went on, and I was deeper and deeper into this deeply toxic and abusive situation, I had a harder time coming up with reasons. Because over time, it started to feel like, why should I live? Obviously, I'm a terrible person. He tells me this constantly. Obviously, I'm making his life a living hell. And yet he won't let me leave or do anything else with my life. And so why? Why am I even here? And so this one night, he woke me up with the usual question, and I did something a little bit crazy. I gave him an answer that I knew would upset him. It was the truth, but I knew it would upset him. So the answer I gave was, because I pay all our bills.
boom.
Which was true, but boy, did that piss him off. And so I didn't think that the pillow was a real threat. I always thought this was theatrical until it was over my face. And so there I was with this pillow over my face and this very angry man pushing down on it. And I started to think, what do they do in the movies when this happens? And I remembered, like, okay, you turn your head to the side and you breathe, as shallowly as you can. And then you do that thing where you flail your arms and you flail your legs. And then you very slowly stop. And then you affect the dead stare. So he pulled the pillow away, and there I was with my dead face. And he panicked and he ran from the room. And I knew I had seconds to make a decision. What was I going to do here? And I decided I'm going to get the hell out of here. So I was just trying to decide, which window am I going to jump out of? Like, what's the safest place for me to land, right? When I jump out of this window. But he came back too quickly. And so I was stuck there, standing there. And he looked at me and I looked at him, and he was holding a Bible, which, it's one of those weird little moments where I was like, was he going to read me my last rites or try to, command me back into my body? I don't know what his plan was. But anyway, he's standing there with his Bible and he's looking at me. And suddenly I realize, as he holds it out in front of him protectively, that he believes that I am a revenant. Now, in his culture, he comes from West Africa. And in his culture, a revenant is someone who looks just like they did in life, who has come back from the dead to exact revenge on the person who wrongfully took their life, which in that situation was not very far from the truth. And all of a sudden, I don't know where this came from, Jen. I just was open to it in the moment, and I was terrified, and I didn't know what else to do. And this voice came out of me in his dialect of French, okay, where I started to speak in this voice that I didn't even recognize. It was this deep voice that like came from someplace beyond myself. And the voice said, yes, you have killed your wife, and it is not acceptable to your ancestors. They are furious with you. You are going to have to beg for their forgiveness and beg for their help to put the soul back into this woman's body, because you had no right to take her life. And you will go and beg their forgiveness now. Pour libations onto the ground and beg their forgiveness, and they will help you put this to rights. And he runs out of the room, and I think, oh my God, it worked. And so I lay back down on the bed in the exact same position that I had been in before. I hear him rummaging through the cupboards, trying to find some, because we didn't have a lot of alcohol in the house. He finds cooking sherry. So he goes outside and he pours the, libations. I hear him singing in his native language of Dida. And he's like calling out to the ancestors. Remember, it's 4:00 in the morning and we live in graduate student housing. So I'm pretty sure that like somebody's going to call the police any second, which actually wouldn't be a bad thing in this situation. So then he finally comes back inside and he sees me there on the bed and he shakes me and he says, Chérie, are you okay? And I was like, whoa, what's happening? And he's like, nothing's happening. Everything's fine. Everything's great. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be great from now on. And for about 2 weeks, he was the world's perfect husband. He treated me like a queen. And I remembered, oh, this is why I was with him in the first place, because he used to treat me like this. This is the treatment that I expected to continue. And it didn't. And I suddenly realized, wait a second, I have a choice. I have a choice in how I get to be treated. And so when it fell off inevitably and the abuse started again, I decided, no, this is not what I want for myself. I won't tell you the whole story of how I got out of that. You can read it in Melting Ivory right here. But this book right here, Enough, this is the book that tells you what happened after that and how I changed the pattern. Because what I realized is that it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him. This pattern was playing itself out over and over in a lot of different relationships in my life, not just romantic relationships, my family relationships, my work relationships, my school relationships, even my friendships. There were aspects of this kind of me expecting other people to take control of me because I felt that I was out of control. I felt that I didn't have a good enough track record. I couldn't be trusted to live my own life and make good choices. And so I kept handing this responsibility over to other people. And they couldn't do what I was asking them to do. It was impossible. And so I was setting us both up for failure again and again and again. And so over the last, 20 years, that was 20 years ago that all of that happened, right? Over the last 20 years, I have created a system for myself to master my own energy and to master the climate control. Whenever I walk into a new situation, I set that climate control. I like to talk about energy as a radio. You are a radio, right? You're walking around picking up signals and blasting them out, whether you realize it or not, right? You walk into a meeting And maybe, or a first date, let's say. You go on a first date and you might think you're blasting, I'm your Venus, but actually you're blasting, but I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. And as soon as you walk into that situation, it's over before it began. Because you've been blasting this energetic soundtrack that everyone around you is picking up on except you. And so the first step is energy awareness. It's just becoming aware that you are this radio and you are blasting this energetic soundtrack. Now, the thing that you do control, you don't control what songs the DJs are playing, right? You don't control the programming on that radio. What you control is the dial. What are you going to tune into? And as soon as you hear a soundtrack that doesn't jibe with you, that you're like, I don't like that song. This is not me. You have the power to flip that dial, to change it. And let me tell you, everything that you find on that radio is useful to you in some way. Okay. If only to remind you, this is not your jam. Okay. When you walk into a situation and it sucks, right? It's just like everything about this situation is like, no, right? Your whole body is just screaming. Like maybe your stomach hurts, you get a little bit of a headache, like you feel all those physical symptoms of like misalignment. I am not attuned to the energy that I want to be attuned to right now. I am on the wrong channel. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to say, okay, well, if it's not this, it must be this, right? It must be the exact opposite of what I'm feeling right now. So whenever you feel a feeling that doesn't feel good to you, there's a simple way to just flip it, which is to ask yourself, what's the opposite of this feeling? You might want to write that down. What's the opposite of this feeling? And then take a moment to feel that energy, the opposite. So for example, if you walk into a situation and you're feeling super insecure and you're feeling like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, right? The opposite of that feeling is, I am enough. I am enough. My energy is enough. Just walking into this energy, into this situation with my energy, I'm bringing value to this situation because my energy is valuable. And that's the opposite. And if you can just feel that for even a second, just a second is long enough, you can retune that dial and completely change the energy that you're walking in with, which will completely change the relationship that you're about to set up here and the situation that you're about to create for yourself. I always love to say, everything you do is an audition for something that wasn't an option until you showed up with your authentic energy. The best jobs are not advertised. We all know that, right? The best jobs are not like on LinkedIn. The best jobs are the ones that you never even heard about because they just met someone and they were like, you would be perfect for this. So I'm just going to write a job description around you and hire you for this position, right? And that's what we want. We want situations where what we seek is seeking us always. What you desire, what you deeply desire, desires to be around you. And the only thing keeping you from that, it's like there's a magnet, right? It's pulling you two together. It's pulling you toward it. It's pulling it toward you. The only thing that gets in the middle of that, the only obstacle between that is your own resistance, your belief that you don't deserve it, or you're not ready for it, or whatever that feeling is. That's the only thing that's keeping that from happening. That magical.
Right. And I want to just acknowledge you first here. I do want to honor your path, really, like, and deeply, because that story you just told, I'm sad to say, I think many women might have a similar situation. And
I've heard from so many people who watched the Barbie movie that it has made them realize that they are in a toxic relationship. And so I just want to say to anyone out here who's thinking right now, ooh, that might be me. Okay, you're not alone.
Mm.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
And you're not stupid. You did not end up in this situation because you deserved it or because you weren't smart enough to stay out of it. I'm a genius, okay? Like, I have a PhD. I'm a smart, smart woman. And I ended up in that situation. Anyone can end up in a situation like that, and anyone can get themselves out of it. But it starts within. The analogy I love to use is the mirror. Okay, so let's say you're looking in a mirror and you look sad. Now, to change that, would you take a marker and draw a happy face over top of your face? Would that work?
Yeah.
No. And yet we do this all the time, right? We think if I change this external situation, then I will feel better in here when it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. To feel better in here, to feel better out here, right? We have to feel better in here.
Right.
To fix what's going on out here. If you want to change the mirror, change your face. And so it's all about energy mastery.
And I just
The way you want to
love
feel.
that you've discovered that. You know, and
Yeah.
of course it didn't take you, it wasn't an overnight discovery.
Oh, no.
At all, for sure.
Yeah, I want to make that really clear. Like, I did not wake up the next morning and say, like, I'm now an energy master. Like, no, it took me months to get out of that situation, years to heal from the trauma of it, and decades to end that pattern. I'm delighted to tell you all, in an incredibly healthy and wonderful and happy marriage. I am so delighted with my current marriage situation. But let me tell you, I went through a couple of other situations in between there that were not so good. So it takes a while. And it's not that it takes a while, actually. Like, it can be instantaneous, right?
Right.
It's that there's so much resistance. There's so much
The key point.
resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've built up. There's all this resistance. There's all these limiting beliefs and stuff that we've picked up from outside of ourselves that seem so rational and so logical and seem to make so much sense.
Yeah.
But they don't. And they're not helping us. And so we have to learn how to completely release these things and how to do the flip. Let's talk about the flip for a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I'm curious how you're gonna get us to that flip. Also.
The flip, man. So first of all, let's talk about, there's three steps to energy mastery. The first step is awareness. It's just noticing that you have energy and that it affects you and it affects the people around you, and you are affected by other people's energy. And so there's a simple tool that I want to recommend to everyone, which is just twice a day. I'm talking 10 seconds, okay? Like, you can spare 20 seconds of your life for this, I promise you, right? First thing when you wake up, and I mean first thing, like before you're even like fully aware of being awake, right? Just notice what the quality of your energy, like what's the soundtrack that's going on right now? And what's the quantity? Like, how energetic are you? Are you feeling like, I want to jump out of bed and do all the things? Or are you feeling like, I would like to go back to sleep for another 3 hours, please? Right? Just notice the quality and quantity of your energy. And then again, right before you go to sleep, right? As you're laying down, you're putting your head on that pillow, the lights are out, you're about to, drift off. Again, just notice, what's that energy soundtrack that's playing for you? What is the quality of this energy and what is the quantity? And if you just do that twice a day, right, you'll start to notice it throughout the day, and you'll start to notice shifts. You'll start to notice the moment where, like, this doesn't feel the way I want to feel, right? In the morning, you're setting that intention of like, this is how I'd like to feel today. And then at some point you realize, wait a second, I have drifted pretty far from how I wanted to feel. And so just having that moment of awareness is super key. The next step is appreciation. And this is the one where a lot of people fall down because they feel energy that they don't like and they resist it. But as Jung tells us, what we resist persists. So the harder you push back against that unwanted energy, the more focus and power you're giving it to push back against you. And that is what creates resistance. And that is what slows down the process of everything you deeply desire coming to you. And so what we need to do instead is appreciate what is. So take a moment, even if it's bloodthirsty, curdling rage, right? Take a moment to appreciate the power of that energy. Find something to appreciate about the energy that you're experiencing right now. If you are in absolute terror, like paralyzed, cannot move terror, take a moment to appreciate the fact that this terror would have saved you from, getting eaten by a lion. Right?
Some time ago.
It's a really useful system when you are actually in danger, right? So take a moment to appreciate it, and then we're going to do the flip. And the flip is so simple. It's so simple that it kind of feels like it can't be just that, right? But it really is. It's that moment where we go, okay, so I appreciate this energy that I'm experiencing right now. But what's the opposite? What's the opposite of this energy? So I'm in terror. What's the opposite of this energy? I feel completely safe. I feel completely safe. And we take a moment to just feel and resonate with that vibrant, that vibration, that frequency. And everything's energy, right? Everything is energy. This is energy. You're energy. I'm energy. Everything is energy. And so if we can just get to the vibration of the frequency that we want to experience, we can experience it right here, right now. And so it's really just asking yourself, what would it feel like? And sometimes I use this phrase. Again, you might want to write this down. I know what it feels like. So this is, if you are terrified, right? Say to yourself, I know what it feels like to be completely safe. I know what it feels like to be completely free. I know what it feels like to be unconditionally loved, right? Whatever it is that we want to experience right now, just remind yourself that you know what that feels like. And if you know what that feels like, then you can feel it right now. Anything that you have experienced, you can experience again in your internal world for just a moment. It doesn't have to be long. But that flip is the key to the last step, which is curation.
I love that word.
Curation is where we intentionally decide, I want to feel and experience and share more of this feeling so that I don't need to deal with these feelings as much, right? And it's not about not feeling those feelings anymore. They're still going to come. Okay. That station is still, you're still going to flip through the stations and go, oh, there's that again. Right. And all of those are useful. And that's why we have to appreciate them. They're there for a reason. If only to remind you, this energy that's happening right now is not for you. This is not yours. Not everything is for you. So we're going to send it back. Okay. And we're going to do this together for a moment. Okay.
Okay. I'm excited.
So, yes, I love this exercise. It's so simple, but it's so effective. So when we're getting an energy from someone that we don't want to experience, like yesterday, for example, I was over at my ex's place because I go over there a lot to, hang out with my kids and, stuff. So I'm over there with my ex and I hear him on the phone yelling at somebody, and it triggered me. It reminded me what it felt like to be yelled at by him and to feel like I'm not good enough and I'm not, all the things, right? So I'm over there, I'm listening to this, and I remind myself, oh, that's the opposite of what I want to feel. And I get to feel how I want to feel now. I have this amazing, gorgeous freedom. And so there's just this moment where I say to myself, right? Like, I know how it feels to feel completely free. And so I'm going to send this energy back to him. That's not my energy. It's not for me. It doesn't resonate with me. So this yelling, angry, not good enough story energy, I'm just going to send it back. Return to sender, right? It's that simple. It's not like I'm condemning him. I'm angry at him. I'm like, no, you don't get to, it's simple. Not my energy. It's yours. You can have it. It's all for you. Keep it.
I'm going to have to do that with my Mercury retrograde.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
issues. We'll
absolutely.
be out of it
Absolutely.
by the conference, but as we're recording.
Let me tell you a little bit about this Mercury retrograde though, because there's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, because it's
affecting
the record. It's affecting the recordings of our conference.
Yes,
in some ways. So.
But here's the beauty of this one. There are so many retrogrades happening right now. We've got Venus retrograde, which is about your desire, right? And like how you want to live your life and do your things, right? We've got Chiron, and Chiron is a really interesting one. This is about trauma. This is bringing up old traumas and insecurities. I've heard this from so many people that all these old insecurities that they haven't even like felt in years are popping up, right? And so what this is, it's an opportunity for us to release them. It's the reminder of like, hey, you used to feel that way. You don't have to feel that way anymore. That's an old story and it's not yours anymore, and you can let it go. And so this Mercury retrograde is actually going to be a really powerful opportunity for us to let go of a bunch of stuff that we don't need. All these things that we've been doing, especially like technological things, like the obsession with constantly checking our email and doing these things, like this is a reminder that you don't need any of that stuff. You are enough just as you are. Your energy is the thing. This is the work. Just feeling the way you want to feel. That's the work. You don't have to do anything beyond that. I promise you. All you have to do is just feel the way you want to feel. And so I'm going to teach you another thing right here, boundaries. I know we've all heard a lot about boundaries, but you would be amazed at how wrong most people get this.
I am sure I do, by the way.
So I'm going to teach you how to set a boundary in a way that's actually effective. So what we do wrong with boundaries is that we say to ourselves, or we say to someone else, hey, when you did that, it made me feel this way, and I didn't like that. So please don't do that again. And now we think we've set a boundary. But what we actually did is to say to someone, hey, tourist, you just stumbled on a landmine. So now I'm putting you in charge of making sure that nobody else steps on that landmine. Thanks. What? No, they don't understand this territory. This is not their responsibility. It's our responsibility. And so what you need to say to that person instead is not, hey, you did this thing and I didn't like it and stop doing it. It's, hey, I've noticed that when you do this, this happens for me. So I'm going to protect myself from that experience in the future. And here's how. Here's what I'm going to do if that behavior repeats to protect myself. This is not, I'm going to do something nasty to you, right? That's a threat. This is, I'm going to leave, or I'm going to, meditate, or I'm going to do something that actually helps me get back into my energetic space that I want to be in. And I'm just informing you that this is about me and it's not about you. And so you don't have to take it personally and you don't have to get upset, and it doesn't have to be an argument between the two of us. I'm just letting you know that this is what works for me. So this is what I'm going to be doing. We're informing. Okay. We are not asking permission. We are informing. We're letting someone know I am a sovereign nation. Okay. And these are the rules in my sovereign nation. if you're going to interact with me, these are the rules that we are going to play by, right? So if you say something that I find triggering and upsetting, whether you realized it or not, totally, totally irrelevant, right? I like to
That
use the
is true.
example
It is
of like,
irrelevant if they knew or
yeah,
didn't
it's
know.
irrelevant. Like whether they intended it or not, their intention
Right.
is completely irrelevant to your experience. Okay. And so let's say someone accidentally steps on your toe, right? Does that make it hurt any less? Knowing that they didn't do it on purpose? No, it still hurts, right? Now, that doesn't mean you have to yell at them and be like, you jerk, you stepped on my toe, right? But just recognizing, like, hey, that hurt. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so from now on, when I'm around you, I'm going to wear steel-toed boots, or like I'm going to take a couple steps away, right? Because of this thing that happened. Now, that doesn't mean that they're a bad person, right? You don't have to condemn this other person. There are no bad people and there are no good people. There are people, and we all make choices and we all do things, and other people have reactions to them that we can't control. We cannot control, right? The only thing that we have control of in this entire life is our own energy and how we choose to respond to what happens. That's the curation piece. How do we choose to respond? And I want to emphasize that what you do want is so much more powerful than what you don't want. Focusing on what you do want, not on what you don't want, because the more you focus on what you don't want, the more it shows up. So this is all about, again, flipping it into, I want to experience safety. And so here's what I'm going to do to make sure that I have the experience that I want to have. And you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You don't. If someone's like, why? Because I prefer it that way. There's your answer. Because that's how I like it. The end. You do not have to give them a better explanation than that. And if they keep pushing and if they keep pressing on you, then this is probably a person that you want to keep some distance from, because their energy is going to be very difficult for you to send back, send back, send back. So just notice that when you're in relationship with someone and it's exhausting to keep sending back, sending back, sending back, you have every right to just not be in that relationship anymore. And again, it's not a condemnation of that person. I like to use the analogy of an allergy. Okay. So let's say you are allergic to peanuts. When you eat peanuts, you end up in the hospital. That's a bad thing, right? Does that mean that peanuts are poisonous? Does that mean peanuts are toxic and should be banned? No, it means that you should stay away from them.
Right.
Okay. Other people can enjoy peanuts all day, every day, right? And that's great for them. But you know you. And you know what works for you and what doesn't. And you know what feels good to you and what doesn't. And it is your responsibility and yours alone to make sure that you are inviting the things that you do want, inviting them, deliberately, intentionally feeling them, setting aside time to just feel the way you want to feel. I know this sounds so silly, but every Friday at 9 a.m., I have an alarm set to feel joy. Okay. Just like appreciation, joy, gratitude, like all the good feelings, right? Like I have the 10-minute timer and I just see how much of those 10 minutes I can just radiate with that feeling that I actually want to feel. It is so much more challenging than it sounds, my friends. 10 minutes of pure joy. It's a lot, right? But I'm getting better at it.
Glad for that. But I love that that's a fantastic practice, right?
Yeah.
Just as you're managing the energy. And where I want to ask you now is, as you've seen your own energy shift and you're using these practices and setting your joy timer for 10 minutes, I want to ask you, how is that sparking your genius?
Oof.
another one of your
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, so look behind me. I've got this whole,
you have this beautiful wall of
bookshelf,
books.
right? Of like all these books that I've written. I've got this incredible creative flow community that I meet with. I have what I call the doer sessions. So every
Mhm.
week we get together and we align ourselves. Remember, we were talking about the cosmos, right?
Mhm.
Right now, for example, you'll be watching this later, so this is not relevant, but I just want to let you know, Jen, what's happening right now today. We have the sun in Leo and the moon in Scorpio, and that is a
Wow.
really volatile combination. And so I've been giving people this simple energy tool, okay? And I'm going to offer it to you right now,
Mhm.
which is I want you to close your eyes for a moment
Okay.
and imagine yourself floating in a pool of perfectly clear water. And then as you breathe in next time, I want you to breathe colored light into your body and watch it seep out into that water all around you until the whole ocean is lit up with that color. And then just tell me what color it was.
Started as yellow and then turned purple.
Beautiful. So this is a really simple, fast energy realignment that you can do at any time. You can just breathe colored light into your body. And then remember that when you breathe that into yourself, it's going to seep out to everyone and everything around you.
Mhm.
You are the one who sets the tone. So you can walk into a meeting or a date or any kind of situation and intend a specific energy, and it will be so. And it feels like magic when it happens. You asked me like, what's come from this? Pure magic, Jen. Like, I can't even tell you all the weird, awesome stuff that happens to me now, the crazy synchronicities that pop up into my life. I had like 4 o'clock in the morning the other morning. I just sent out an email about this to my subscribers. 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and I get this really strong feeling that I need to go outside and stand barefoot by this. I have a beautiful ancient, like old growth cedar tree in my backyard.
Okay.
So I went and just like stood there barefoot, and I realized that I was talking to the mycelium network under this tree. It calls itself Celia because, of course, it has a good sense of humor. And it starts explaining to me how I can help the people in my life heal with different kinds of mushrooms that I can grow. And it gives me tips and tricks on how to grow these things. It gives me specific blends and things to mix them with so that they taste better. I mean, it got incredibly specific. And I kept waking up and having to like write down more things because more stuff kept coming to me. These are the kinds of crazy experiences that you will start to have when you are genuinely attuned and aligned to feeling how you actually want to feel right here in the moment. Because here's a tip. You know this, but I'm going to remind you, there is no past. There is no future. There is now. And so how you feel right now is you creating your reality. If you can feel the way you want to feel for 10 seconds, forget 10 minutes. If you can feel the way you want to feel for 10 seconds, you have created an entire universe for yourself where you feel that feeling and help other people around you feel that feeling. Is there anything more powerful?
Can you imagine if there was something more powerful than that?
Right?
It's really it is such, as we're talking about it here in our space, we're calling that creative chutzpah, that sort of getting into your own energy. This whole thing that you're talking about, being aware, curating the energy you want, doing that flip and feeling, I know how to feel creative. I know how to feel my superpower of whatever, right? I know how to
Exactly.
feel courageous. I know how to feel confident. And I love this circle. I'm glad you're going to show this.
I love my circle. I'm such a nerd. I am a process nerd. Let me just tell you this right now. So one thing that I really rail against is this idea of productivity, because it's focused on the product. And if you're focused on the product, you're missing all the magic, because the magic is in the process. The magic is in showing up for the process, feeling the way you want to feel. And when you do, you can create beyond your wildest imaginings, beyond your wildest imaginings. But I have this beautiful chart, and I call it the doer chart because it's dreaming, organizing, executing, and revising. And so right now in the chart, we're kind of in this co-create energy. This is where we invite inspiration, like come spark me, like work with me. And the beauty of this chart is that you never have to wonder, what should I be doing right now? Right? Do you ever get that feeling of like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? So in my doer sessions, we notice where we are on that chart in terms of the lunar cycle so that we can really align to nature, because nature is amazing at this. Nature always feels exactly the way nature wants to feel, right? Like nature has no resistance. You want to look at an example of what's possible when you have no resistance. Look at nature. Nature is amazing. And it goes in this beautiful cycle. It never gets burned out. It never gets exhausted, right? It never happens that nature's like, spring, it's like a lot of work. I'm just going to skip it this year. Like, no, right? Every year the big show happens.
Yeah, you're just gonna skip spring.
Right? Like, I'm just tired. Like, I think I'm just not gonna do this year. Right. And it's because of winter, right? Because spring, like nature isn't self-conscious about taking an entire season to prepare for the big show. But we get really self-conscious about these things. And so this is why we need each other to remind us, right? I love community. And this is why when I talk about energy mastery, when you master your own energy, you will, whether you want to or not, it is not negotiable. You will attract a community of people around you who want to feel the way that you feel, because you've sent out that signal and they pick it up and they will come, right? And so you will be surrounded by a community that wants to experience what you want to experience. This community right here, for example, right? We're all here talking about fierce awakenings because we want that experience of awakening and of being fully in our own power, right? We want that experience. And that's why we're all here together. We've gathered together around this same feeling, that feeling of that fierce awakening and being on that beautiful spiral path of knowing I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And in fact, sometimes I'm not supposed to be doing anything. One thing that I can tell you, like when you are being pulled together, right? What you seek is seeking you, and that process of being pulled together, the faster, like the more you can completely relax and do nothing, the faster it will happen, right? Because it's like, imagine someone's trying to like, drag you someplace, right? If you are like kicking and trying to like go in a different direction and like, it's not going to happen, right? But if you can just relax in their arms and they can just carry you, it's going to go really quick, right? But if you keep being like, no, it's like you're a toddler and you have like a little car wheel, right? It's like you're in a bumper car. You keep like wanting to move the wheel and being like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I got this, right? And then you keep being like, why do I keep running into things? Why is everything bumping into me? Right? It's like, maybe just relax.
Yeah, maybe just take that little bumper car over to the corner for a second.
Right? Or just recognize that you're just here to have some fun, and that like getting bumped back and forth is the game. And like, you can just take your hand off that wheel and just enjoy yourself. Right? Like, you don't have to white knuckle it all the time.
You don't have to white knuckle it all the time. I think that
In
is the
fact,
best
you never have to white
phrase.
knuckle it,
Right?
right?
We never have to white knuckle it.
You
Why
can
why
just
do we keep doing that?
what and we know why. It's because we've gotten this message our whole life that if we
Right.
don't make a thing happen, that it won't happen, and then it's all on us, right? That like, well, we should have made it happen. If we wanted it to happen, we should have found a way and made it happen. And if it didn't happen, that's because we are a failure. Instead of looking at rejection is protection. So if it didn't come through, then it wasn't for you. And so anything that you think of as a failure was actually a gift. It was actually a gift. It was actually putting you on the path that you're supposed to be on. And so if you could just show up for the process and enjoy every moment of the process, then everything that comes out of that process feels like pure magic. And it is pure magic. And it's so much better than anything that you could have planned for yourself. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a time to plan. There's a whole section of this chart, right? Where we're in organizing energy and we're innovating and we're creating, right? But that's about recognizing, okay, I've been given this gift from the universe.
Mm-hmm.
How can I experiment? How can I play with this? What could I do with this that would bring great value to my people? And it's a playful energy. It's an experimental energy. It's not a pressure energy of like, well, now I have to make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's because I failed.
No.
No.
No. But it is curious because we're talking about that, and then you lead the doer sessions. You want to tell us a little bit about the
Exactly.
doer sessions and how people can find out
Yeah,
more about
absolutely.
that?
So every week on Thursdays, we get together and we do what I call a doer session. And so I let you know what part of the chart we're in terms of the lunar cycle. And I kind of walk us through how can we use that energy to our greatest advantage and give an exercise that we can all do right now. I lead an exercise to help you really like, boom, get into that energy, make the best use of it, feel the way you want to feel right now, and really show up for your process with your full passion. And as a group, it's so much easier to let go of that resistance and go, well, we're all doing it together, right? It's kind of like when you're a teenager and you like, you want to try like rebellious, like crazy cool things, but like you never do it by yourself, right? Like it's way more fun. And you have that
Together.
courage and that confidence, right? To do
Mhm.
these things when you're in a group. And so this is how the community functions. And then we have just a moment to let everybody check in on like, how is this resonating with you? What's going on in your process right now? And we help unblock each other. So any resistance that you're coming up against, any limiting beliefs that are rearing their ugly heads, right? Anything, anywhere that you're stuck in something that you're trying to create or something that you're trying to learn, we help each other work through it. And starting in September, we're actually going to be adding, after the doer sessions on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, we're going to take turns leading a workshop.
Wow.
So we'll step into our own authority, right? And recognize like my energy is useful here. My authentic gifts are of value to someone other than myself. And so we will step up and teach something that we either are really good at or that we're just really passionate about and are just learning, because the best way to learn is to teach. I'll also be bringing in subject matter experts so that we also have people who are like professionals and out there doing this and given real tips and tricks that can really help you to level up as a community leader. Because that's the thing, every single one of you is a leader. And you have, again, like once you're in your energy and you start to pull that community around yourself, you have a responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, right? With great community comes great responsibility. You have a responsibility to lead that community toward feeling and experiencing more of that juicy, wonderful energy. And so I have all kinds of tools and all kinds of books and courses to help you do exactly that.
And tell us where we can find all of this great level of
Absolutely.
wisdom.
So my website is audriemac, ADRIEMAC.com. But I also have a link directly to the workbook that goes with the energy mastery that I've been talking about. I think this is going to air after September 1st.
It is. This will be for October. So
yeah. So I have a workshop for September 1st, but you can download this at any time. I'm sure that Jen will give you the direct link.
There is. The link is going to be right on Adrienne's speaker page, and it's going to be really easy to find. You'll find it right there. It's going to be in the portal in the speaker hub on her speaker page as well. There's going to be all sorts of great stuff there too. So don't
fantastic.
This workbook is going to be awesome.
It is. It's got so much good stuff in there. It goes into detail on each one of these steps and how to really use it to magnetize a movement, right? Like we all want to start a movement. We all want to leave that legacy behind us. And so this is how you do it. You show up fully in the energy that you want to experience in your creative process. Every moment. That's it. That's how you do it.
And that is really the best we can always do, right?
Yeah.
That is the secret.
I mean, it's an open secret, but the thing is,
it's
so much easier said than done, right? And so that's why we need these tools, and that's why we need each other. We need these communities to help us get to this, because the truth of it is so painfully simple, right? There's one enemy in the world, and that's your own resistance. That's it. That's it. That's it. The call is coming from inside the house. Okay. There's nothing, there's no danger beyond that. The danger is all here.
It's from the space that we have physically. But
exactly.
You are such a joy.
Once we have these tools, you can flip it. Thank you so much for having me.
This is so rich. It's so rich. I hope everybody watching this has 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more nuggets to put in their bodies and hearts as they keep going around the curve, that spiral path. Thank you. Thank you, Adrienne.
Absolutely. And it is such a joy and an honor to be a part of all of your journeys. I just want to say, I want to leave you with this thought, okay? You are exactly where you're supposed to be. You're not behind. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. You're doing great. That's all.